And we are now adding features to our file sharing solution to be an enterprise-ready file sharing solution.
I think from the product perspective is that we try to optimize the user experience as much as possible to make sure that this solution really is accessible to anybody out there.
We're in a gaming economy, so we need to keep them engaged and entertained through gaming, so we provide them services. So
our network of nodes are users, gamers, or enterprises or businesses that download our application, be it our launcher, which is the application that has games and also monetization built in, or an headless application just for businesses to download and utilize our computational resources.
Welcome to Spin Simple, where our CEO Nokkvi and Head of Product and Business Development, GAIMIN, will be addressing common questions about our file sharing service. They will also be breaking down technical terms in this session and explaining them in simple terms for average business executives. Furthermore, if you're contributing to OmniCloud, this video will give you insights into how you're helping solve a demand for file distribution globally. Can you, in simple terms, explain how GAIMIN OmniCloud file sharing solution works?
I guess I can take that, yeah.
yeah.
So in simple terms, clients provide us with their files, which we then distribute to our network of nodes. Our network of nodes are users, gamers, or enterprises or businesses that download our application, be it our launcher, which is the application that has games and also monetization built in, or an headless application just for businesses to download and utilize our computational resources. So to keep it very simple, clients provide us with files. We distribute the files to the nodes that are participating within our network. And when the end user, which is an individual that wants to download the file, initiates a download process, we retrieve the file from the nodes that are monetizing. So if we've distributed the file to, let's take a range of nodes, when a download is initiated, we retrieve that file and distribute it to the end user downloading.
How does GAIMIN offer cloud services like AWS or Google, but make them more accessible for users?
Yeah, it kind of, like we spoke about earlier, we don't have to spend a lot of money maintaining a data center or putting up a data center. So that takes out a big cost center for us. So we can provide that solution at a lower and more accessible price than our competitors, because it's a sharing economy.
And I think one thing that's quite important is that I think from the product perspective is that we try to optimize the user experience as much as possible to make sure that this solution really is accessible to anybody out there, depending and irrelevant on how technically knowledgeable they are, that they would be able to set up the solution without complex requirements and understanding how a cloud infrastructure should work. If we take any developer, any company that wants to access a cloud solution and they go on AWS, GCP, or Azure, it's highly technical and requires a significant amount of time to set up within their own infrastructures, whereas our solution is looking to optimize it to not bound companies into lengthy lock-in periods and also allow them to set this up as quickly as possible to then access our cloud services.
So it's kind of a perfect time for this, because a lot of people are now vibe coding, which is coding with AI. And this allows you kind of to vibe distribute files without having to know a lot about the technical complexities of doing it. We'll take care of the infrastructure for you, and you focus on innovation. That's kind of our goal.
How does GAIMIN ensure uptime from non-owned services in its network?
Kevin, do you want to take this from a product perspective?
So obviously, to create a distributed cloud infrastructure network is highly complex. And I think what Bjarte pointed out is we don't control our users' devices, so it becomes quite a challenging requirement from our side to be able to identify whether a user is going to be monetizing at that specific point in time for us to be able to retrieve the file that we would want during a download process. So I think from our side, it's a phased approach where we're trying to optimize this as much as possible. But just to make it as simple as possible, data is what we really need to understand and predict when a device and track their typical behaviors on how they're monetizing. And then, of course, bring it back to my previous answers on user experience to then inform and increase transparency to the users that they need to be monetizing during this period to be able to be rewarded with the recirculation of the revenue generated from sharing their computational power and being able for us to then complete the computational task, which is in this case the file sharing. So I guess just 2 points to sum that up: data to be able to understand how our network is operating, and in transparency to the users to let them know that they need to be monetizing to be eligible for rewards, which is the main benefit for them to be monetizing.
And also the fact that we're in a gaming economy, so we need to keep them engaged and entertained through gaming. So we provide them services, so they would want to stay within our ecosystem, playing games, getting rewarded, and using those rewards to sustain their gameplay. And we do have a really engaged and tight-knit community behind us right now, and we're just trying to expand that organically.
What is GAIMIN's long-term vision for cloud storage beyond file sharing?
Yeah, I can maybe take this one. So the file sharing solution is just the first of many storage and distribution solution. If you look at the big players that we've been talking about, AWS and GCP and Azure, they have a really comprehensive product suite. And we are now adding features to our file sharing solution to be an enterprise-ready file sharing solution. And from that, there are residual effects that move that solution into another solution to a bigger problem that other customers have. So we're really focusing right now on one market through the distribution of files. But you can think about a similar solution to Dropbox, where you have a sync where we can share and work on that file at the same time, and where we can maybe do that for developers. Or you can go into more of a storage solution. Hey, I need to back up my solution and I want to do it with you on this distributed and reliable network. So there's a lot of residual effects from starting at file sharing and building that out and building out a comprehensive storage solution.
Yeah, I think just adding 100% aligned on what Nokkvi just mentioned. I think just for those that were following GAIMIN from the early days, there has been a clear emphasis on just building the greatest cloud solution via distributed network. And there were a lot of different services that were being pursued, being AI, rendering, and file sharing. And I think what we were able to then prove was that it's such a complex world on cloud solutions, and there's a need to then be hyper specific on a specific use case. So we narrowed it down from those three categories: AI, rendering, and file sharing, to then just file sharing. But file sharing in itself is still a highly, I guess, diverse space where there's a lot of different use cases. So exactly what Nokkvi mentioned, we then picked a specific use case, which was executable files, because of the company that we are, distributing game files to then be downloaded by a community at high frequency. And after that, there's a significant amount of files that we could also tap into with their tailor-made use cases, as Nokkvi mentioned. Dropbox, for example, which is highly accessible to entire enterprises or small or medium-sized businesses, for them to share a wide range of different files. So it's just being able to build that long-term approach to being able to support all the different file types and their specific use cases, whilst then capturing and driving true value across our current priorities, but not losing track of the long-term.
Yeah, like what you said, we've been kind of exploring a couple of solutions with rendering and AI. We've developed, let's say, an MVP there. But for us as a scaling up company, we need to go really aggressive strategically, and we've seen more of a product market fit, and we're providing a better solution to the problem that we're solving through file sharing and storage and distribution solutions. So that's what Kevin was saying there. I really like that.
How does GAIMIN guarantee file availability and deliver speed, especially during high traffic periods?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have a distributor network, so we can think about it. We have a bunch of servers online, but they're quite volatile. So we need to send out tasks to a couple and take one back and provide that to the user. And what Kevin said earlier is having data to optimize that. So that's an ongoing and will be an ongoing process for us for the next couple of years. But how do we ensure availability so we can provide confidence to our clients? Is we have more than 2 backup solutions. So what we do is we have the network, which we distribute files. If that doesn't work, we have our small little data center here in the office where we're working. And if that doesn't work, we use one of those big suppliers and provide our clients with the confidence that they're probably going to be moving from one of the bigger players, AWS, GCP, and Azure. That's what the biggest players in the market. So we have those solutions hooked up as a backup. So we can really say, we trust our solution so much that we use our solution for our files, and we want you to do it as well. If everything fails, we will take care of the cost for you from doing it the way you're doing it right now. That's how confident we are in our solution.
And I think just building up on that, as our network continues to become optimized and our network continues to grow as well, meaning more devices monetizing, our ability to provide security methods to back up the transfer of files in this case or complete any computational task becomes slightly more seamless, because we have a lot of different backup methods to be able to secure that recovery method, which is completing the computational task, but also think just the ability to then also have that data-driven approach to understand what is the best method to fuck that one up.
Yeah, maybe expanding on what you were saying, we also deploy methods to make it enhanced. So the easiest way to think about it is we send out the file to a couple of servers, and the first one to give us is the best one to distribute it closest to the user or something like that. But then we also take that big file of, let's say, 10 gigabytes and split it down and send to a couple of backup locations and do parallel retrieval, which is usually the fastest way to do it.
Yep. So I think just going back to the point, it's just that the network becomes more optimized, that it's able to identify and load balance and make the decision when to then retrieve a certain file or complete a task from the network of nodes within our cloud infrastructure. And as that becomes more efficient, if it fails on one device, we can quickly make the decision in an automated process to then complete the task or retrieve the file from another node in our network.
That's good.
But we definitely need to cut that one out.
We'll see.
How can CTOs integrate OmniCloud solution with their existing DevOps or CI/CD pipelines for file uploads and delivery?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have our solution kind of split in two ways, and Kevin talked about it earlier. We want it to be as easy to deploy as possible, and that is different for people. Some people like one method of doing it, other people like another method of doing it, and we're taking two different approaches to manage those complexities for people. So we have a portal where you can just drag and drop when you're ready to distribute that file and kind of shuffle it around in your dashboard, kind of visual user experience where you can shuffle the files around. And then we also do it through an API where you can automatically upload that file to the OmniCloud. And from there, it's getting distributed, and you are returned the link to distribute that.
Yeah, I don't think I would have anything to add on that. Just the manual approach, which is uploading the file, and then the automated approach where the APIs are integrated within the client's CI/CDs to have an automated workflow to have files uploaded to our network or updated with existing files.
How does GAIMIN ensure data security in file sharing solutions?
Yeah, it's a good question, and what most of our customers ask about. And we're always adding to that solution because we want to be the most secure solution in the industry. And right now, we have gone through the ISO compliance to show that all of our development as a company is at the standards that it's supposed to be. And we're in the SOC 2 process right now, and that is kind of like the gold standard of doing this. But then we're also continuously adding features like encryptions. We are adding file splitting. So encryptions, most people know what that is an end-to-end encryption of the data. But file splitting is a newer concept where we take a file and we split it up. And you know how files is something that you press in. It's maybe an image, and it's an image of us. But in the background, there's some binary file that doesn't mean anything, just a bunch of ones and zeros. So we split it up into a couple of binary files and distribute that. So on each server, on each user's PC, that file doesn't mean anything. And we make sure that we never distribute the full file on each user's PC. And then we do parallel retrieval of that file on the user of the client's machine to make sure that we're compliant. And like I said, we have Kevin here to add a bunch of these features to our solution. So we stick with the gold standard.
Like Nokkvi said, the certificates that just provide that social proof that GAIMIN is complying with all the industry standards to provide a solution out there to the market. But I think just as simple as possible. Clients, if we just take file sharing, clients want to be able to provide us with files that file, the data within it is not being compromised or being accessible to anybody. So like Nokkvi said, we distribute these files, we split the files, chunks of the files are stored on your users' devices, which the users having the file on their devices have no access to read or decipher any data within that file. And we still ensure that the file, once being downloaded and distributed, that the integrity is kept intact, meaning that the full file is being, when it's retrieved, provided to the end user downloading it in the expected manner. So the most important thing is that when the files are then distributed to our network, nobody has access to the files except for the intended source that's downloading the files. And our clients will then be able to, with upcoming features, provide additional security methods such as timeframes when the files can be retrieved, security password protections, access rights, that only the end user that they want to retrieve the file can actually view the file once downloaded. And this is just on file sharing. As we expand to other solutions, the same approach will then be rolled out as well.
How is latency minimized in the Omni network built on idle computational power?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it kind of goes into what Kevin alluded to earlier with the fact that we have data on how our network is using, and it's completely our network. So we're continuously always increasing the speed of which the files are transferred to the user. And if you just think about the big solutions, they are usually, if you lock it into a geolocation, it's between a latency of 1 to 10 milliseconds. And that's what we are seeing as well on our side. But if you are distributing a file from Japan to New York, it's up to 100 milliseconds. But we ensure that our file is always parallel retrieved from the entire network. So we are able to not pass on the cost of moving between servers, but we optimize where the file is stored, and we make sure that it's always available with the least amount of latency.
Yep. And I think this question of latency is relevant for the specific use case that the file is being distributed for. So in our case, which was our initial file sharing use case, executable files being downloaded, latency is not of the biggest concern. So it's using our strengths at this point and then rolling out as our network is being optimized. So when we are distributing our files, or when a file is being retrieved, or just various file features such as point-in-time backups or file versioning, these are more relevant to specific types of files, and specific types of files don't really require as much of a latency guarantee as other ones. So from our side, it was because we're running a distributed cloud network, the latency requirement we wanted to approach first was not the highest importance, but as we then roll out to other file sharing use cases that would become more relevant, and of course optimization of our network would need to be able to be enhanced to guarantee the SLAs of latency requirements that our major cloud competitors would be providing.
What level of performances can the Omni Cloud deliver at scale for real-time file distribution, especially for large datasets or media assets?
I think the big solution that we're providing to the market is both the performance of having a distributed cloud, where you can optimize where, for example, files are being stored or retrieved and so on, but it's also a scalability problem. If you think about setting up a data center, it needs to be funded, it needs to be built, it needs to be set up and then maintained. It takes up to 10 years to put up a big data center that is able to participate in a big network. For us, we just need to initiate more engaging content on our gaming side to be able to scale up our solution. So we're able to scale up much faster with our clients of the OmniCloud. And with scaling up the OmniCloud, we provide more performance. So you can think about it as if you're a big enterprise and you need a cloud solution and you want to participate in the OmniCloud as a client, but you also want to participate your on-prem solution or the computers in your office like we do here, you are participating to the OmniCloud, making the cloud better for your solution, but also using that to get better service. And I think that's the goal and the performance that we're providing to the market.
Yep, exactly what Nokkvi said. We provide a solution that allows any device. I mean, right now it's Windows, but as we roll out, the aim is to, of course, provide every device the opportunity to monetize their unused computational power. So in this case, like Nokkvi mentioned, on-prem solutions from enterprises that are being untapped, that they could be leveraging to avoid having to pay and even create a secure private network from devices that they own and control. So just as seamless of a process as possible for any user, being an individual gamer, or any client, being an enterprise client using our cloud services, that they have the ability to monetize their unused computational resources from any device that they own. And as our solution and network expands, this becomes easier for then everyone that's joining along the way with us.
Yeah, and like one of the clients that we've been speaking to that has operations in all continents in the world except for Antarctica, where they saw a big benefit for themselves is that they are of course using a cloud service, but then they also have on-prem solutions in all these countries that they operate within, and that's underutilized resources that they are maintaining, setting up, paying for electricity, and so on. But then they also have an on-prem team to manage their multi-cloud system. So they were like, oh, you have this file distribution service. Maybe we can move that to you guys because we can hook up our on-prem solution to that, but we can also then remove that from our team that is spending immense resources on managing a multi-cloud service. So that's one of the performances that the OmniCloud has to offer. Thank you for watching this video. I truly hope that you learned something or found this engaging, and I encourage you to go on GAIMIN.cloud to explore our solution further. We also have multiple more educational videos like this coming out, so stay tuned. And if you are a contributor to the OmniCloud, I just want to thank you for contributing to this cause that we're carrying out here at GAIMIN, and encourage you to contribute more and tell your friends about this awesome solution that we're building. Be sure to follow GAIMIN on our socials and our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you.